morning.
Good morning. Nice to see you, Alla. Welcome to Bitcoin and Beyond. It's so awesome to have you here today. Your music playing in the background. Sorry. Yeah, it's so good to have you here. I'm Melanie Carstens, and today I'm sorry, this is running in the background. Yeah, today we are going to be talking about women in Bitcoin, in Web3, and really just about your fascinating journey in sort of empowering women. It's obviously a great passion of mine. There's so many extraordinary minds that I've met on my journey here. So yeah, welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much for having me, and have a happy New Year's, everyone who's tuning in, who I haven't sent out personal happy New Year's to. Thanks for having me, Melanie. It's really great to connect with you. We just backstory, we had an amazing conversation a few days ago, and she's like, I would love to have you on the show, and here we are. Everything happened so quickly, but I've been following your journey and what you've been doing in the space for a while, and it's been nice. I saw your post last week, I guess, was it, when you kind of came out and put your beautiful photo and kind of doxed yourself, and I was like, holy shit, there's another incredible woman in the space, and it's not some like dude in the back project just creating this persona. So it was great to connect with you over the phone, and I think we had a really great conversation, and I'm hoping to continue that and maybe things about each other.
Yeah, definitely. I know. I was so excited as well to that you reached out. It was so funny you said about that. Who was it behind this profile picture? So obviously my name, well, not obviously, but I was Good Kitty for 4 years. But when I first came into the crypto space, and I mean over the last 4 years, obviously it's kind of grown as to not just primarily. I mean it was very male dominated when I sort of joined. It's gotten better over the last couple of years, but for my entire first few months until I stood up for myself and I was like, I'm not a bro. Every single person called me bro. They thought I was a guy.
Yeah.
And when I would say to people, when I met people vocally, I mean, I didn't expose my face until recently, they'd be shocked that I wasn't a dude. And I was like, what dude would call himself Good Kitty? And they'd be like, you'd be surprised.
Yes. In this space, you never know. I mean, I've heard of several projects through my journey that I was like, oh my God, this is totally like a female project. And no, it was just a bunch of bros in the background when you actually ended up meeting them. So that's why, you never know. And I think it's great that you dox yourself and put your face out there, because I found that only through women need to see other women in the space, and we need to feel comfortable, being approached and educated and by other women. It's not, so I'm glad that you've done it. I congratulate you. And I'm so glad that, we got to connect, and here we are, hopefully inspiring other women in the space that are.
Yeah, I really appreciate your support, because it's so scary, and to, it's a message that, is important for me that other women hear, because I mean, I think I mentioned it to you, there was a lot of, when I came in, it was, yes, Good Kitty was about having fun and enjoying myself in this environment. At the same time, I really was afraid. I was afraid that I'd kind of asked the wrong question. So it was almost like, for me, creating this like cutesy character to see how it would be reacted. So it's much easier to do that without my face, because if I feel like I've made a fool of myself, or if there's a bit of a sharp reaction, which there were, I would ask some questions that might not have been so technical, because I'm not technical, and wanting to learn. But I just was like, oh, fuck it. I've been Good Kitty. I've learned it now. Now it's time for that brand to expand itself. So yeah. And that's why I'm doing this show as well. I want people to get to know the incredible minds out there, and that's why the minute I met you, I was just like, come on, let's do it. Let's take it live. Let's take our budding friendship live. So.
Oh, thank you. Thanks. Glad to be here. And yeah, let's keep spreading the joy around, and
Yeah,
more women for sure. onboarding
Yeah.
more people. I mean, there's definitely has been, I'll dive into it, I guess, a bit about myself. I don't come from a technical background, but I was always very interested in like technology and, what's new, like what's new and what's next. And my sort of Web 1 career was, I was a buyer. I worked in fashion. I finished fashion school. I went to design school. I winded up finishing with like a business fashion degree, a proper fashion degree in business administration. I became a buyer, right? And so my job was to work, I started a luxury fashion side. I actually digitized the first Versace lookbook. Back in the day, they used to send these like analog, big, heavy catalogs from Milan to New York because we were responsible for selling the Versace collection across North and South America. And so we used to wait until these, books would come in, these like heavy, beautiful art books. I mean, they're gorgeous art books, but they were super heavy. And then the salespeople had to send these books out to the buyers for them to make their kind of buy selection. And when they would come to the showroom, they would know what they're buying, right? Or like if they couldn't come to the showroom, they would have an idea of what the collection is for next season. And so, but it would always be delayed, and we would always like have the samples on hand, but we wouldn't have the books, and then it would take forever for these books to be sent out by mail, really dating myself, but so I was just sitting there, I was an intern, and I was sitting there with a design intern, and I was like, well, why don't we just start taking pictures of, we have the samples, we have the models in the showroom. So we would style the models, we would take these pictures, we would put them on an Excel sheet, and we would put all the, the information, the consistency of the fabric, the prices, delivery, like whatever. And so, and I just handed this file over to, the sales team, and I was like, why don't you guys just email it in the meantime until these books can be like received and sent out. And that week they got all of their orders in, like 70% of the orders came in by mail just from this.
Incredible. Look at you.
Yeah. So anyway, so I was just always like, how do we use technology to better our lives, right? And that was my thing. And so I wound up getting hired by Versace, wound up permanently moving to New York. I was like 20 years old. Decided that, I really wanted to be a buyer, not work on the sales or branding side. I wanted to be a buyer. I wanted to be the person who comes into the showroom to actually dictate the fashion and what's going to be in stores. And they're the ones that are really the decision makers of what taste and culture is in fashion, really. So winded up going for my business degree, winded up finishing, and I got an internship at a contemporary clothing store that was, I was a denim buyer. I was a senior denim buyer straight out of college. And again, this was when not every retail had an e-commerce yet. This is really the beginning of e-commerce. And so I was like, well, this is the future of retail. You need to have a website presence, So again, kind of seeing the future of like what's around the corner in terms of technology and where adoption is going to happen. And I think that's what really made me a good buyer, because I saw the trends before they became mass adopted. And so I'm able to then have the upper leg of like negotiating better deals, better terms, bringing on like the emerging designers on board and having sort of like first, advantage of being first in. So got into a startup called Consign, which was the first social e-commerce platform of its kind. Really, they were doing something really innovative in like e-commerce space, bringing tastemakers and having them curate storefronts. And for me, my job was to find emerging designers and putting them sort of on this platform. And only when the sale was made, they would get their product would get paid for, their invoice would get paid, and the curator that created the storefront would, get their percentage out of it. Anyway, so it was the first social e-commerce platform of its kind. Really like love the fast pace of a startup, like, being there with the founders and like having an idea and just seeing that the idea executed and like being live. really quickly within a few days I was like, oh my God, this is the path that I want to take. Like, love the startup environment. Got recruited to another startup called Bloom, which was the first social e-commerce, first subscription box company for parents and children. So like imagine like Birchbox or like, I don't know, like beauty boxes that still are pretty popular nowadays. But this was the first of its kind. That's when subscription box business model really just started coming into the space. And we were the first one to do it for parents and children. So, grandparents would buy like a 12-month subscription for their grandkids. So every month they would get like 5 items for their grandkids on monthly basis, and you don't have to think about what to get, and it kind of grows with your kids' milestones. And so I came on board. I think I was like second employee in or something like that, and it was they had like less than 200 subscribers a month at that point. And I left when the company got acquired. They had over 20,000 subscribers a month. The company got acquired by a Norwegian company that had licensing deals with Roblox and Minecraft, and they really just wanted to learn the business model of like how a subscription business works. For me, it was really interesting because I was doing the buying, sourcing across 10 different industries. So health and wellness, accessories, fashion, toys, books, right? So I'm traveling to all the trade shows, seeing, all the trends, seeing the new products that are coming out onto the market, and being able to kind of tailor it to our needs. And so what we created is essentially our own algorithm, like our own LLM, that allowed us to assign metadata to each individual product. So when the boxes needed to be built, all we needed to do was assign characteristics to what this subscriber was looking for. So if they have a newborn, their box is substantially different than a mom with a 4-month-old or even a mom of an 8-month-old, right? So every kid goes through pretty drastic milestones. So we're able to assign specific milestones and specific, girl, boy, gender neutral product. Do we need to have a variation of toys, books, health and wellness, mom product, baby product, right? So like essentially like allowing us to collect a lot of metadata about each individual subscriber and like their needs, and then match it to the metadata of each individual product. And so at any given month, I would probably source close to 100,000 products a month across 10 different categories. And my job was to really, do the deals and the negotiations with the brand, because really what we're providing them was like product placement and like marketing, right? Because at the end, we like provided them like a ton of data about, moms in Arizona of 8-month-old value your product more than moms of 12-month-old, So, it was a really interesting job. And again, always kind of at this, like what's next? What technology can we use in order to enhance the consumer experience? So the company got acquired. I winded up coming on board to this new company. Started working from home because I was like, I'm not, I lived in Brooklyn at that point. The company was in Connecticut. I was like, I'm working from home. And so that was the beginning of me working out of, my pajamas. So I was like, never going back. Anyways, about a year into this, I'm like, okay, what's next, right? I've kind of done a lot of different things around products, and I love fashion, but I didn't love sort of the cattiness and in fashion industry, right? And kind of jumping forward, that's one of the things that I love about working in Web3 is the fact that women support each other, and you know what I mean? Women want to help other women. And so I didn't see that in fashion. So I knew that I did not want to go into that. And tech, knew that I wanted to stay in startup. So I was like, trying to kind of explore what are the next steps for me. And my cousin called me, and he's a big shout out, Gary. He called me and he's like, I have this, an idea for a project. I know you like, the guru of like commerce and products, like take a meeting. And so a friend of his had an idea for a commerce. He knew that he wanted to incorporate blockchain technology into the project. He was a big sort of Bitcoin guy. He was the guy that was telling us about Bitcoin or like Thanksgiving dinners. And I'm like, okay, Gary, or, like, I'll listen to you. But like, it's kind of been in my like, peripheral vision, but never kind of dived into it. And so we had this meeting and I'm like, I just had this, aha moment. And I'm like, this is exactly what I've been missing as a buyer. This technology is the missing link. And so we winded up having a meeting. I kind of dove head first into blockchain and like watched whatever I could watch and listened to and read whatever I could read, before our next meeting. And I was like, yes, this is exactly the tool that I've been missing as a buyer. Because for me, when I needed all this information from the suppliers, is this really organic? Is this really tested on 6 months old? Is this really made in USA? Like all of this information was important for me because I needed this data. But this information just sits on these companies' Google Docs, right? You as a consumer you can't access this information, right? You're just trusting what it says on the packaging. And for me, like, that's not enough, As a consumer, you should demand more. So that was really my drive, how I got into the space. And so we started building. We built an MVP that allowed companies to drag and drop company information document, like a PDF. We started with a PDF first. And then that created a blockchain record. And on the front end, you had a Chrome extension that allowed you to come to any website, say Nike.com. If Nike submitted these documents and put them on the chain, then it would say, this company is 97% transparent based on the number of documents that's on the chain. For him, he knew that Bitcoin was the way to go. At that time, block stack or stacks as we know it now was a solution, and was free minting. We're able to mint documents and for free, and the interface was easy, I guess, for us to learn. So we decided he was our tech guy, so we trusted Gary that he would be building on a platform that's on the layer 2 that's for our company. And so it was great timing because we wanted Block Stacks was just launching, and they launched their first accelerator. And so we submitted our sort of company as to be submitted for this. Like, I think they were selecting 25 companies overall, global companies, and we were one of the companies that were selected. We winded up pivoting from during the time of kind of my product market fit. I started reaching out to a lot of like the health and wellness companies that were like in my network, right, that I've been working with over the years, because I figured like, yes, they would jump all over this. Why wouldn't they, and found out that, we were so far from education, just them understanding, right? We had to educate not just the founders, we had to educate the consumers, the founders, their board. It was a really big hill that I wasn't ready to climb yet, and what we realized is that we were trying to solve an issue that really wasn't there, and that's like kind of when we started going through the accelerator, we realized that's like, product market fit 101, right? Like, you have to really be solving a problem. But what we saw was that people wanted to mint on Stacks, but they were having a hard time. There wasn't like an easy to use consumer platform that allowed you to, mint on Stacks. And so we already had this platform, the drag and drop functionality. So we just did drag and drop, right click and mint. So you were able to create your NFTs in seconds. We knew that for consumer adoption, credit cards was we were the first ones to do credit card checkout on Stacks. So we had, that led me to, so we went through the Stacks Accelerator with 25 amazing global companies, like Alex and Toby from Novum. So, you know, Grace that you had on last week, she was my mentor. Trevor Owens was my mentor. Alex, I mean, we have.
I know Shiente as
Sorry?
well. I know Shiente as well
Yes.
from Alex. Incredible work as well. I want to
Exactly.
talk to her as well,
Yes,
if you're
yes.
listening.
So we had an incredible, like, you know, team of just, you know, teammates, like wanting to build some, you know, something on Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So we went through the Stacks Accelerator. We winded up raising our pre-seed round, and you know, we launched in December of 21. December of 21. No, I'm lying. December of 2020. 2020 to 2021, I was ready in Art Basel with the marketplace. But so we winded up launching with an NFT marketplace. And, you know, I really, one of our, was like, okay, what are we doing sort of for our grand opening coming out, you know? We did this campaign where we wanted to onboard women, and we did, you know, we had over 100 submissions of women artists, female artists from all over the world, submit their campaign on SatoShe. If, you know, SatoShe was a woman, what, you know, what can she look like, or what is she, or, you know? So we selected 25 artists, and we had an incredible coming out launch event at another female-run hybrid metaverse platform, VSpace, and we had actually the first live auction on Stacks. So, you know, we had we invited a female DJ from Brooklyn, Tasha Blank, and she minted her first album on Stacks, and we sold it. Yeah. I think she sold it for $7,500 at that point. So someone bought her, you know, Stacks music album that she pretty like. Yeah. She basically, you know, DJed live during this event. So yeah, it was a pretty epic moment. Yeah, and wow. It was, you know, that was kind of from that point on, I'm still, you know, really good friends with few women that are still, you know, that just started out their journey back then. This is 2020, end of 2020, beginning of 21, really. And you know, still friends with a lot of women from the project. Shout out Jessica Greenwald if you're going to be listening. So she submitted. She sold one of her NFTs on there. You know, Fiona. I mean, yeah, just incredible women, and we all. You know, I remember a moment when I came to Art Basel for the first time. This is 21 already, and I was on a panel for, you know, women in NFTs. I don't even know what the panel exactly, what the topic of the panel was. Actually, I was the only woman on the stage. It wasn't about women NFTs because I was the only woman on stage. But I've had women come up to me after and say, "Oh my God, thank you so much for just coming out and telling your story," because we've been kind of circling the space and not knowing like how and where, you know, how to come in. And so at that moment, I realized it was like how important it is just to have a representation, having a woman in the audience. You know, seeing that I'm not a technical person, you know what I mean? I'm interested and I understand the foundation and I understand the bigger picture of how it works and why it should work. And, you know, but I'm not, you know, in the background, like making, so you don't have to be super technical. You just have to want to learn. And I guess that's like one of my superpowers is that I'm curious, like, you know, I'm always curious about what's next. For me, I just dive head first, and only through me doing it and learning it, you know, I'm a visual, but also I need to do it. That's how I learn. But then, you know, I can then break it down and make it like, you know, for other people, I can break it down and say, well, this is how you do it. And it's like, this is the first step, the second step, this third step, right?
Yeah.
And, you know, like it's less intimidating maybe for, you know, other people then to take the next step for them.
Yeah. Yeah, you've said so many things that kind of like have drawn my attention, and I'm so interested in talking about. But I kind of want to, I mean, you've spoken so much about the projects that you have worked on, or even like you say in fashion, you discovered how different people are towards each other than how they are, for example, working in this environment and this kind of early environment that we're in that needs us, I think, realizing that. And it's funny because women generally are very supportive of each other. They understand each other's journeys, and they kind of like,
okay.
Is that your cat
in the back? That's Benji. His first appearance on a podcast, guys.
I know, look at him, famous. Yeah, I'm gonna get mine in here now, except mine will just be I've got a lab, and I don't know if you've seen that movie, Marley and Me.
Oh, I love that. Oh my God, favorite dog ever. I know, I always say it. It's gonna be my retirement dog.
We called him.
They're so cute. That's gonna be my retirement dog. Me and my husband always talk about it. Like when all the kids are out of the house, we're gonna have a lab, and that's gonna be our like retirement.
We called him the Structor for the first year and a half of his life because he basically just was like Pac-Man. Do you remember Pac-Man that just goes like this and eats anything in front of him? And I've got I garden a lot at home, and I've got a big piece of land, and I'm growing fruit trees and strawberries and blueberries and all that stuff. So, but I've got a pair of like Wellingtons, right? You know what?
I'm letting him
Is
out.
that just
I'm gonna
let him
out.
let him. We're just it's happening. It's very real here. You can see we're not recorded and we're not editing things
like,
out.
guys, I have a dog that needs to go pee.
We got dogs, we got kids.
Yeah.
Well, but you know, this is the reality of life. You know, I'm just jumping all over the place now. Anybody? I am practically 88, let's just say ADHD, and it's gonna just jump all over the place, okay? Anyway, so let's go to my Benta. Shout out Benta if you ever listen to this. I love you. She is a queen. And she was on a spaces the other day with me, and her kids came running into the room, and it was just so this kind of natural. She just took it in her stride to carry on talking, handle the kids, you know, and it was so nice having their voices even on the show, and just respecting the fact that, you know what, we are women, we are people, we've got kids, we've got lives, shit happens. It's not going to always run smoothly, is what it is, you know.
That's one of the things. That's one of the things that really was when COVID happened. I was in the midst of fundraising for Layer Technologies, right? And so suddenly, I've been working from home since 2016. Suddenly, everyone was in my home, you know, my office space. 3 kids, okay. You know, like a little, you know, 3-year-old, a 7-year-old, like little kids, and you know, and my husband and a dog, and everyone wants to eat, and you know, everyone needs attention, and everyone, and I'm, you know, in a New York City apartment, right? I can't like kick them out anywhere. And that really, but what I realized is that, you know, before you had to have this like proper, you know, proper conversation where people couldn't hear background noises. All of that went away during COVID because everyone was home and everyone's kids were home.
Yeah.
And so all this prim and proper, like the conversations had to be, you know, totally quiet, like all went out of the door, and everyone's like, yeah, this is life. You know, you're gonna hear my dog, you're gonna hear my kid. And yeah, that's, you know, if anything, that definitely like changed the dynamic of like, you know, this is real shit. Like we, you know, there's other things happening, you know, besides work, but I think what women are really great at is multitasking. So yes, I can still have dinner on, and I can still have my laundry on, and I can still be on a call with investors and, kill it on my pitch deck. So
it's so important to, I remember with my mom, I think she kind of really inspired me to, fight for my rights in the workplace, because it was very different back then. The opportunities were, I mean, she didn't even finish school, because it was like very normal for women in her generation just to like leave school a couple of years before, you finish, and just no tertiary education, and then get married, and your job was to have kids, or and so she did that. She didn't have an education, and she married my dad, and then in her, I think she was 36 when she got divorced, and she had no education. My dad was, I'm not going to give you any money. I've got like a new family. He married a woman with kids. And so she had 3 jobs, and she was studying. So she would wake up in the morning at like 4:00. She would bake like cookies and muffins and make sandwiches. And then she'd have somebody go from like office to office selling those. Then she would go to her job as a bookkeeper, which basically Alla. She was a receptionist, so she was just sort of answering the phones, and because that was it was like that's what you could do. You could become like a receptionist or a bookkeeper, or some sort of, and this whole idea that also like the salaries weren't the same. I mean, it's like, it's so weird when you talk about it now, that it's this, if I look at my son, he doesn't even know if he's talking to girls or boys online. It's like so equal. And and then she would come home. She had 3 kids. So she'd have her wake up at 4:00, make all the cookies. I would get us off to school, walk to school, all that sort of thing. And then she would have her full-time job. Then she would come home, cook us dinner, study for 2 hours. There was no online. They would like post the books to you. Then you would mail the books back, the assignments. And then she would go work in a bar until midnight.
Wow.
Yeah. So she was having kind of 3-4 hours of sleep a night. No partner, no support from anybody, no family to support her. Her sister lived internationally. She had no other family. And so and she just did it. And not only that, but she tried to be an entrepreneur. She bought herself a camera, and besides studying bookkeeping, which was on the side, she also on weekends would try and teach herself to be, with us kids. So we would all just be her subjects for, practice. And then she saved up some money. I mean, I don't even know how, but got the studio, rented like this little room, and tried to make it as a photographer, but it didn't work out for her. She's an artist. She painted, she sold 1 canvas her whole life. And that's all, but she kind of really still inspired me. Like, she just went out and did it. She didn't complain. She was like, what I got to do, I got to look after my kids. I got to bring them up. I got to, send us to amazing schools. So I kind of, and I thought of how, like, the injustice of it, that even though, and she worked her way up. When she retired, she was a financial manager for an international company. So all of that sort of in her 36 to 60, 30 years or whatever it was. So it's just so different now. I look at there was a film, I'm going to stop after the story, but there's a film about a little girl firefighter And the whole movie starts with this beautiful montage. It's an animated film. It's this beautiful montage, and of this little girl being like practicing to be a firefighter, pretending to, like, have a hose pipe and do whatever. And then it sort of pans out, and you see it's in like the 60s or whatever. And she comes to her grandpa, and she's kind of like, "Oh, I'm so excited. I want to be a firefighter when I grow up." And the grandpa says, "Look, I have to tell you something. It doesn't work like that. You can't be a fireman," because it was a fireman in those days. And she was like, "But I mean, I don't understand. Why can't I be a fireman?" And he says to her, "Because that's what it is. It's a fireman, and you aren't a man." And my son says, "What do you mean she can't be a firefighter, a fireman?" For him, that, it's a firefighter now. That's the word he used. Just so far beyond that thought. So I really believe, for our generation and the generations prior to us, but there's been just this incredible move forward. And yet I was still called a bro for my first
Well,
year.
granted, I'm called a bro every single day. I've moved on to bro mom is my new title. So I am always a bro.
Nice.
I'm bro at home. I'm bro out there.
So what do you think about this? Let's talk about empowering women in Web3.
Yeah, let's talk about it.
Yeah. Obviously, it's complex. It's the next level in sort of women empowerment, right? It's been this journey, but where to from here? Let's just sort of, if there are any women listening in the audience, let's just put that out there. Obviously, we can't speak directly with you, but we do have the comments. If you want to ask Alla any questions, or if you have got anything to say that you would like us to point out, please do drop those in the comments, and we'll respond to it. But for women who are listening, how do you get into Web3? We've both gotten into it, in different ways. We both have a story. We know many women have got stories, but what would be, and it's hard to give a generic story, but are there any sort of avenues that might be easier, or, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I think you have to look at where you're coming from. As you saw here, Melanie came from a different way in, right? How she got into Web3. I got into it from a different way, from fashion angle. You have to say, what are you interested in, right? Because you don't want to be working on things that you're not interested in, and especially with so much learning that has to happen, you want to enjoy, right? You need to always tie it into what are your interests. So, are you interested on the art side? Are you an artist? Are you interested in on the finance side? So maybe DeFi is the path for you. Are you interested? Like, are you working currently on your marketing, a traditional Web2 marketing role? So then learning about Web3 marketing would be more interesting to you than learning how to be, now also be an artist and now learn how to mint, right? So you have to see where you're coming from and where you're interested. So once you know, and what value can you provide to an ever-growing, ever-expanding Web3 industry, right? Now, as we are, shaping this new ecosystem and coming into this new space, right? How can you shape the future? How can you be a part of it? So we are now risking and recreating the same old inequalities, right? So with Web3, it's a new start, right? And you want to contribute. So what unique perspectives can you bring that will drive innovation and help build the system that's fair, right? And that inspires more women to come on board and continue this path. So see where you are now, see where you might be interested, and these industries and these companies that are building, in Web3, they're looking for experts in the field, right? And so they're looking for women to contribute with your amazing, community building skills, or if you're really great at, analytics, like we need more women in that space. If you're an amazing developer and you're interested in learning, you're coding right now, and HTML, like why not learn a language like Clarity, and you can develop stuff on Stacks, which is really So what is your contribution? What are you great at? What value can you provide? What contribution can you make? And then find a project. So just like be present in the space. Join Twitter Spaces, right? They're happening all the time, 24/7. Join join different spaces. Follow other women. I will tell you that in no other industry will you have an easier foot and easier guide in. You can literally message any woman that's on any Twitter space, and if you just DM them and you say, I really loved your story, I resonated with it, can we have a 30-minute conversation? I just want to learn from you. I've never seen that in any other industry. So, and the industry is still small enough that you can literally talk to the founder of a company that's building something, something new, and join the Twitter Spaces, reach out to women, reach out to whoever inspires you, have a coffee. If you there's so many different conferences that are happening in they're now in bigger cities, but there's a bunch of communities that are popping up all over the place. I'm sure in your city as well. Join those IRL, because those communities that meet face to face are always a lot more fruitful. You form just I think a better connection and more of a friendship, and then through that friendship, the introductions and sort of other networking can happen for you a lot quicker. So join Twitter Spaces, join community groups, go to conventions or conferences. Besides the big conferences, I know the tickets are expensive for a lot of these conferences, but there's usually, with every big conference, there's at least 200 different satellite events or side events that happen at the same week of the conference. Those are generally free, or at least you just have to RSVP. Get on those lists, go see people, and just make yourself present and show that you're eager to contribute with the talents that you're bringing to the table. And just put yourself out there. And once you figure out, oh, I really like this community, or this community speaks to me, or people in this community resonate with what I'm doing. Once you find your vibe, like your community of people, then you can say, okay, well, they're building this project and this is how I can contribute. So just be present. People like to see that you are proactive and that you genuinely want to help and want to see the ecosystem grow. And once you start being involved kind of like on the bottoms up, there's no you can go as high as you want it, but doing it. Women, what I realized through my time here, we tend to overanalyze. We are not risk takers by nature, so we tend to overanalyze. We feel like we need to know something like 90% in order for us to do it, right? Men don't think of that. That's why when we launched the platform, literally the second it went live, we had guys minting dick pics and just ugly art and just just stupid stuff. And I'm like where that's why I feel like we needed to create this platform just for women, submit your beautiful artwork, and we're gonna have, and we had a roadmap for the launch. Women needed that, but bros, they're like, oh, just let's do it and see where it goes. And so I urge you, for any woman that's listening, is just do it and learn by doing, and don't overanalyze yourself, and just experiment. Right now is the time to experiment. We're still early enough to experiment and to try And if you don't like this platform, you can try a different platform. You don't have to be, you know, all Bitcoin in. I mean, I know this is a Bitcoin show and I love Bitcoin, but you know, maybe, I don't know, Tesla's community is where you vibe. That's where you like, you know, so you don't have to be pigeonholed into any specific community. Try different things, just try. But like the worst thing you can do is be paralyzed and not do anything.
I think that's also why, I mean, we were saying earlier with Good Kitty, that was kind of I could just, because we've got it inside of us. It's not like guys are the only people who have this power to just like dive in and do stuff. We do have it inside of us, but we kind of second guess it, you know, and then it's like, oh, maybe I shouldn't. So in a way, I mean, that's for me what Good Kitty was. It just allowed me to like go in. It didn't matter if I made a mistake or if I didn't. But I think as well, for those women who do have it, because we all, you know, we have both. It's women seem to be able to have both parts of these things inside them. There is Google. You know, I spent months just Googling and Googling and Googling, like, you know, asking questions. So asking and now we've got ChatGPT where you can ask those stupid questions and get an answer that can lead you somewhere else, you know, and so use ChatGPT, ask those stupid questions. You know, you've got, and ask ChatGPT what you should be asking it. Somebody taught me that. So, you know, so ask it what you should be asking it, and then ask it those questions. So there are those platforms to do that, to have your research done. And I think what I loved about your story as well was, and do this as well. You don't have to dive completely into, you don't have to enter, although those communities are there, but you can also take parts of this. Like you were saying, people are looking for people who are experts in the field. So come in, get the knowledge, and then take it into your wherever you're working. You know, bring it up. You're going to find, let me tell you, don't feel bad when people glaze over and start looking around the room when you're talking about it, because that is going to happen, but not for long. And so I think that, and I love what you said about, you know, this is a Bitcoin show, and, you know, I have found my home here. But when I started out, I did exactly that. I went to all of them because it taught me, and that's why it's Bitcoin and beyond, because we can't pigeonhole ourselves in this new world. It's the opposite of pigeonholing yourself. And what's going on Tezos, to me, I look at them like countries. You know, it's like
it's different islands. You know what? Someone had a really great analogy when we just started building, and I remember Gary Reiger, our CTO at Hey Layer, he was, you know, we're trying to understand, well, why stacks and why Bitcoin? And he's like, well, you know, we were kind of already on the edge. We're like, okay, we're going Bitcoin route. But why stacks? Like, you know, he's like, well, just imagine right now this island is being built, right? And we're on this little island, but through more and more projects that are coming onto this island, the island is expanding. And, you know, has that expanded, you know, since 2019, right? With everything that's happening with stacks, with everything that's happened with ordinals, with runes. I mean, I feel like, you know, the islands kind of, you started having these little, you know, islands, pockets merging together, expanding. And so don't be afraid to travel to different islands just to see at the end, where's your home? For me, you know, once I started attending all of these events, so in 2023, I did the first Bitcoin POAP for the Nolcha shows. That's how I started working with Nolcha shows. For anyone who doesn't know, Nolcha is the best Web3 crypto multi-chain, really, but he's been doing an incredible job doing, you know, the official after parties for Inscribing Miami. We did Inscribing Nashville, Inscribing Art Basel in Miami this year. But, you know, it was really working with him, working with Arthur, and seeing how he would bring all the communities together into this like epicenter of culture, and music and fashion. And I just wanted to be a part of it because I saw that through culture and art innovation, that, you know, and bringing the right people into the space, really kind of like, that's where you realize like the inspiration just comes from these events, right? Where you're meeting founders, you know, not just, you know, the marketing people, you're meeting the builders, you're meeting the founders, all these companies that are being built right now, right? So I loved working with him. I've been working with Arthur now for the past, I guess, 3.5, 4 years, and we have a bunch of events lined up this year. I'm going to be in ETH Denver in February, talking about, you know, popping off to different islands. But there's a big Bitcoin presence that's happening there as well. We're doing the official opening night for ETH Denver conference. We're going to be at Consensus. We're going to be at NFT NYC. We're doing an event, a huge event at Bitcoin in Vegas. And then, you know, finishing off the year with Art Basel. But bringing in, I think that's what's really interesting about this Web3 ecosystem, that we are all kind of on the same mission of seeing an alternative, you know, financial model exist out there, right? And so everyone has their own ways of creating paths, right? And everyone has their own little islands. And it's interesting, and you should explore and not be pigeonholed to just one chain. Highly urge that. But it's, you know, come to the Nolcha shows and you'll see kind of like the, you know, everything kind of in this brewing pot. Like it's kind of, you know, where a lot of the projects and a lot of collaborations really happen. And that's where like a lot of networking, a lot of my networking for my agency really happens, you know, from these Nolcha shows. So it's, you know, come to as many. I think, you know, IRL events definitely offer a lot of value to your builder, or if you're trying to get, you know, connections, whether you're trying to raise a round or you're trying to build a team, or you're, you know, you're looking for your like go-to-market strategy. You know, definitely urge you to look at as many events as you can attend, as you can afford, as you know, and find ways to partner up and have a presence, because that's where a lot of things are born, you know, at these events. So
that's the thing, you know, it's really just about making the decision. I think kind of what I'm sort of understanding, it's making that decision and then saying, okay, I'm going to do my research. I'm going to be involved. If you don't, I mean, you've got to have a Twitter account, as you know, whether you like it or you don't. It all kind of goes down on crypto Twitter at the moment. It seems to be kind of the hub of where all the comms go down. And I love what you say about being able, and that's the lovely thing about Twitter. You're this close to the actual founders. You're not going to, you know, you don't have to leave a message at reception.
yes,
You know, you can you can go right there. You attend that space, and if people see you on those Twitter spaces, and that's a lovely way to find your groove as well. You know, to start, because you don't have to. You know, you can even on a Twitter space listen anonymously. That's what I said to a friend of mine the other day. I wanted her to come and talk on a space, and she's like, "Oh, I'm so embarrassed." Let me tell you, it is the scariest thing ever in the universe to go onto a Twitter space and speak. Those people who are doing it are shitting themselves. Nobody just decides, oh, okay, yeah, I'm just going to go out and speak publicly to a group of people that I can't see. I don't even know if they're rolling their eyes or laughing at me. I don't know anything. You know, I'm just having to trust myself. So if it's really too scary, just press the little listen anonymously button. Nobody even knows who you are, and just ask questions. And the awesome thing is if you feel like you've made an idiot with yourself, you just leave the space. Nobody knows you were even there. So I would say exactly what you're saying. Get on Twitter Spaces, get on Twitter, get on Google, get on ChatGPT, learn all this stuff, because the incredible thing is we are all learning together. You are not walking into a concrete building that's been there for a fucking 100 years, led by a bunch of grey old people stuck in their ways with you know, you got to enter through the back door because you wear a skirt and you can't show your knees and your shoulders.
Right.
Hello, Vatican. So, you know, it's just dicks and balls everywhere, but shoulder bad. So yeah, I think do that, explore all these things out there, listen to the spaces, and then start just little by little. You can write articles on your Twitter. So keep a record, right, of your Twitter is your record of what you've achieved in the space, because being anonymous or being in this way specifically for somebody like me, I built my entire reputation anonymously.
Mm-hmm.
I came into the space. You, on the other hand, you took digital and brought it into your interest and helped build the IRL stuff.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so there are lots of ways to kind of skin this cat. Like we said earlier, I love that bit about, you know, traveling to different islands, visit Tesos, visit ETH, visit them all. So yeah, I think that's some really good advice from you. And look, I'm a big fan of what you're doing, and I think, you know, with Nolcha shows, are there any IRL events for women that you know of that are kind of big, or IRL sort of communities that are really big? You know, an online kind of communities that women can.
Yeah, I mean,
Found
there's
it.
women of the world. The WoW community is always, you know, the BFF community is always great. There's definitely IRL. So we've done things at Nolcha shows for women in the space. We've done events at the NFT NYC in partnership with Coco at what is their organization? Take a look at that. PW. That's a great one to look into it. 1 second. I don't want to mess up the name. So I know they do events in New York often. If you're in New York area, I'm gonna put it in chat. PW. I put it in this chat. Oh, that's a private chat. How do I put it in other chat?
I actually don't know.
I put it in that group chat. If you want to take it over there.
Yeah.
Women Founders Bay. Yeah, I've heard of that one. Yeah, I mean, there's a ton, honestly. There's, you know, just look up, if you go onto Twitter and you look at on X and you look up, you know, women in Web3, you're gonna have the hashtag. Just look it up by that hashtag, and you're gonna have a bunch of different communities pop up. Yes. So there's always, with every big conference, right? So you have the headliner conferences. So you have, you know, the ETH Denver, Consensus, NFT NYC, the Bitcoin conference. So you have the big sort of headliners. Within the big headliner conferences, there's always these satellite events, and there's always someone, you know, putting specific events for Women Web3. But honestly, I have found, I have walked into rooms where, you know, it's a specific project that I'm interested in, or someone invited me to an event, and I'll walk into an event. And it has happened to me several occasions where I'll come into an event and I'll see it's very bro heavy. Like, it would be me and like maybe 2 other women there. And for me, honestly, I don't get intimidated in those kind of spaces. Some women do. I don't. I'm okay, you know, handling myself with, you know, a room full of men. So I'll just, you know, I'll grab my drink and I'll sit at a table, and 100% of the time, I will have every woman that will come into the space will come and will join me. And I have made the best, you know, connections with those women that have come into a space that's not specifically, you know, women focused events. So don't be afraid just to attend events. Again, it's all based on your interests. and doesn't, just because it doesn't have a woman, attached to the title, maybe that's another reason that you should attend as a woman, just to have, that female presence. So.
And I think you mentioned Stacks earlier. Obviously, it's where I found my home, along with Bitcoin. It was very interesting for me that, and this is a good couple of years ago, before L2s, before ordinals, before L2s, before anybody kind of really understood what Munib's vision was, that you could, what you could actually do with Bitcoin further than being a store of wealth. And the lovely thing about Stacks, and I mean, I'm still there very much at home on Stacks, is that it is a small community. And that is because so many people also ask me, like, how do I start? How do I even, where do I go? You can't like knock on Bitcoin's door or go to, the boss of Ethereum. Well, but if you find a small community or a small blockchain like Stacks, where it has the potential to be this incredible thing, it's very easy to, that's how you and I got to know each other. It's how I've gotten to know Shiente from Alex. I mean, an incredible woman, Electra, who I interviewed last week, along with Grace, who is one of the most incredible founders I've ever met in my life. So hats off to Grace. So you are able to reach out to these women, and that's with Shente. I found myself, 4 years ago on a DM group with her that I was added to, and I remember reading her bio and thinking, how did I end up here? How did I end up on this? Able to speak to this woman. Never in my life. I'm a girl in Cape Town in the music industry, and she's at the top of the top. So that is the beauty of this. This is the time, and the wonderful thing about women is that they do talk, as you can hear by you and me. Is they do talk, and they do form emotional connections, and they do help each other, exactly how you said, specifically in this industry. I would encourage, if you are listening, if you're a woman who's wondering what is Web3, how do I get involved with Bitcoin, find a community like Stacks, join us, come in, DM me, DM Alla, we can show you around the island that is Stacks. We can put you in our tour bus, take you down, meet the people. I would also recommend that. So you are always welcome in our communities. We are here with open arms. So
we're here, we're eager to teach and to onboard, because we know this is, you have to have the tool set for the future. For the future of the world.
We got kids, we got dogs, they can run in and out of the room. We're not gonna, what was that clip of that guy? Do you remember?
Oh, yes, that was his wife, who was that?
Yes. Was like crawling on the floor to try and get the kids out.
Oh,
yeah. Okay. I think you're very welcome and very real, as you can see even by today's show. So I think let's start. I think we've hit the hour. I was thinking while you were talking that I kind of wish it could go on for longer, or we got to do this again. I think I think it's something even that we could grow. I kind of have this vision of like as many women as we could fit in the room, all kind of fighting for airtime, getting our vibes out there. If you are watching and you are a woman who would even like to be on the show, also please reach out to me. I am on Twitter. This kitty is good. reach out to Alla as well, and yeah, let's chat. That's what this is about. So yeah, let's kind of sum it up. What are your final words for ladies out there who want to join? I mean, we've spoken it. Obviously, I'm sort of trying to think how to frame this, but I mean, just very simply, I'm a woman. I'm watching this. I'm crypto curious. I'm Bitcoin curious. I am working in just IRL. I'm in marketing, or I'm a director of a company. What do I do?
Don't wait for the perfect moment. Okay, just start now. Join a community, like we said, ask questions, take the first step, because your voice and your perspective is exactly what the space needs. So, now,
That's beautiful.
And right now, the next 4 years are going to be an exciting run in next 18 to 24 months for sure. So be at the forefront of this bear run that's going to be happening. So do it now. Your voice matters. Your perspective matters. Don't wait for the perfect moment to come.
Yeah.
It's never going to happen. There's never going to be a perfect moment. You can always go down deeper and deeper and deeper of learning, and but just start doing something. Start giving back. Your voice needs to be heard. Start building and learning in public through Twitter Space. That would be a really great way for, yes, we need more feminine energy, please.
Yeah, and make mistakes in public. I mean, we've done it. This show is something. It's my second episode. I'm still learning, but I've jumped in. I'm trying to be fearless. A friend of mine and myself, we've kind of gone on this crazy. I was really ill for 2 years, and I couldn't exercise and I couldn't do anything. And now, being an extremist, I've just gone like, okay, I'm doing yoga, I'm hiking up a mountain, and I'm going into the like ice cold immersions every day. So I am absolutely like dead finished.
You know who you need to have on the show? Wait, Melanie, I'm gonna bring her about. She's an incredible person. Nama, I'm gonna connect you guys. You need to have her. She's she's trying to change the healthcare industry and introduce Bitcoin, and has been part of many crypto projects. She opened the meditation with the Inscribing Nashville. She did a meditation in the beginning of this conference. Really much, really loves the crypto space, but also is a great person that you need, like just a forward-thinking visionary that just bridges creativity, technology, purpose. She would be an incredible person for you to have on.
Yeah.
You guys need to learn about Nama, guys. Whoever's listening to this.
I want all kinds of people. I want to, experience the world. I have never in my life had the opportunity, and I've just caught a sight of myself on the camera. I'm like a ghost. Oh my God.
What's happening?
I'm putting the light on. Hang on. It's so dark. It became nighttime.
I don't want to yes, maybe that's what it is. Yeah.
Oh my God. Oh my God, here I am, the ghost.
You're back.
Okay, shitty lighting. Sorry, people. Getting there, learning. I don't even think the last 2 episodes, my mouth hasn't even been syncing up with my mouth movement. Haven't been syncing up with my voice. So I'm still trying to figure out that. So please excuse all the mistakes. I'm learning.
We're learning together. Yes, we're all learning together.
And I want that to also be a message that goes out today. It's like, it doesn't have to be perfect. I struggle to be like being a perfectionist. I want everything. I don't want to make a fool of myself. I've done that my whole life. And I look at it now and I think to myself, the more people I meet from all over the world, and I realize, and I just keep saying to myself, we're all people. It isn't this perfect world. we can all just have a bit of a laugh at each other as we kind of make all these mistakes going forward. And it's because we are building it. So it feels kind of nice doing it, you know. But
this book, speaking on this topic, right? So the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. I don't know if anyone listens to the Mel Robbins podcast, but she's been on my listen for the past few months. And what this book talks about is, all these insecurities that you have about, posting about something or telling my story or whatever. We start questioning ourselves about them. And so her thing is just get it in your head, let them. People are still going to think their thoughts, they're still going to have their assumption, they're still going to have their thoughts, but that should not stop you from living your life to your fullest, right? And voicing or posting something about yourself or saying, passing your message. And that's something, that I am also struggling with, always kind of overanalyzing. English is not my primary language. So it's always I have to reread something 100 times. And is it proper grammar? Is it proper, spelling or whatever it may be? So it's constantly questioning myself and the message that I want to put out there. And so I just picked up this book, if anyone wants to.
Thank you.
Alla Theory by Mel Robbins. I've heard a podcast about this thing, but it just, what's stopping you from achieving your goals and achieving your happiness? It shouldn't be other people's
no, and that's
not other people's feelings first before your own.
And that's pretty much the reason why we don't, is because we think oops, somebody's going to think. And so that's the thing where you say you have to give yourself permission, or no. My friend said to me, this girl I'm doing all this crazy stuff with, she said to me, you give me permission, because I can be quite nuts, right? I can do some crazy things. And she said to me, by you doing that, you give me permission to do it. And it's a strange way of thinking, because that's how we do it. We kind of stand. Think about with anything you do, you kind of what are they doing? What are they doing?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So it is. It's normal, but I think the more we kind of just go out there and show, the reality of life. And I think that is that's an awesome message, and one that I kind of want to leave everybody with. Just go for it, be yourself. You've had some beautiful kind of little takeaways for me from this, and like I said earlier, I really want to continue this conversation and bring more women into this conversation as well. So I just want a huge thank you to you, Alla, for being here today, and I look forward to a long friendship with you.
I know we have to do more of these. I really enjoyed the conversation. Yeah, I hope we get to hang out IRL someday soon, but this is great. And let's keep each other, on a pedestal, and support each other and support other women, and see how we can, through collaboration, just make the bond stronger, the community stronger, and hopefully, continue inspiring others. So thank you.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for joining us today. I hope you enjoyed this conversation. I hope you feel inspired. And click on the, what have you got to say at the end of a YouTube thing? Click on the subscribe.
Share. They always point somewhere. Where do they point? Down?
There's a QR code for. Where's your QR code for?
It's on top of you, actually.
QR code, like and subscribe. See you around. Thank you very much for joining us. Bye.
Bye.